What's going on, everybody, and welcome to our XCFL Legends Draft Class Breakdown Show. With me, we have producer Regan, we have Coach Boone, and we got Mr. Van Flank himself. How are you guys doing today, gentlemen?
Fantastic. Having a great day. How's everybody doing?
Van, how about you, brother? Van?
I'm good, guys. Nice to see
I
you
am
guys.
doing
Having
good.
a great day.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Did Van probably got bored of waiting, Regan?
He did, or he died. I mean, it is a possibility at this point.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, we'll just when Van comes back, we can just chime on in. But all right, so we got 32 legends in our legends draft class, kind of the best of the best from men, 17 men, 18 men, 19 cycles. We can't. Van says he's on and talking. Can anyone hear him?
Nah, dude.
That's not what I hear, but okay. Hey, sure,
Van, we cannot not hear you. What's going on, everybody in the chat? He left. We got Rob, we got John Eagle, we got JMO, we got Pride, Avocado, we got Kylo, everybody. Van, you here?
Cool.
Can't get up.
Work.
Van?
Can you hear me?
No?
Yeah.
There he is. Okay, cool. Perfect.
Okay,
Sorry, Van.
Sorry.
All right. So real quick, let's introduce this how we're gonna do it. So when we built the draft class, we aren't putting the final version of the player in. You're not gonna get a 99 overall, Barry Brooks. You're getting a rookie-ish version of how they started versus how they finished, kind of thing. So we took into account, maybe a guy had 99 speed. We kind of took into account what the current state of the league is, and kind of based it around, okay, there's a lot of guys in 96 speed. We're not going to give it, not going to get that full on 99 speed. So Deion Gates, 99 speed running back, he's not going to be 99 speed. He's a rookie version of himself. The overalls fall between 78 and 75, I believe. Their attributes are a little bit higher because their awareness is lower. So we were able to boost them up a little bit and keep their overalls kind of low. And then everyone is going to be 24 years old, X Factor development. So they'll still have a little wiggle room to get better, but they're not going to get, a 10-point jump in one season. So we didn't want them to be complete game changers that are going to come in and, break the game this last season. But we wanted them to, get the names in there, have a little fun, get to play with some guys that, you might have played against. Maybe you'll draft one of your own guys you played with and get another run with them. Or someone you've always heard talked about and you want to give them a run. So, any questions from you three on any of that, or?
I think it's a great idea, and I think pushing the last season, I think this gives everybody some energy, and I think that explanation works because one of the first questions I had was how the players were built. I think that helps. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's an amalgamation of how they did and how they were drafted is a perfect.
And then one other thing we want to focus on. So if a guy does have crazy speed, it obviously his overall go through the roof if he's really fast. So these better guys or these crazy fast guys might be a little worse at route running or a little worse with breaking tackles or loosening or stuff like that. So it kind of balances them out. Where some of your more fundamentally sound slower guys might have better catching traffic, better route running, better release, little things like that. So keep that in mind as you're drafting some of these guys. The crazy athletic ones might be a little more raw versus some of the less athletic ones might be a little better attribute wise in some parts. So it'll be fun. I think it'll be a lot of fun though, getting some of these guys back in the league and seeing what people do with them,
Oh, for sure. I think that was the biggest thing, is trying to make the class balanced. Like Nick said, there's very few guys. I mean, I can maybe think of two or three that have the athleticism and the stats and the ratings. So, you kind of got to choose. Do you want to go for the guy with the who was basically just known for his speed, or do you want to go for the guy with maybe the more fundamentally sound player? I'm interested to see how the combine goes, because I know a lot of guys are going to be curious to see what certain players like Deion Gates and the classics like Rawls, what kind of speed these 99 speed players of old, what kind of 40 times they run. So that'll be really cool.
Riggs, is Riggs really loud for you guys or just for me?
It's okay. It's a little louder, but
I have myself toned down a little. I'm using my my mic from work that I use, so
okay.
So I'm louder to you guys than I am in the stream.
Well, let's go ahead and get this rocking and rolling then. We're going to start at 32 and work our way to 1 based off of the draft class, how it's kind of set. So with that being said, we're going to start with the running back out of Iowa, Adonis Logan, one of the cooler names we've ever had drafted in XCFL, in my opinion.
Definitely.
The chat saying you sound fine, so that's good. With Adonis Logan, he was drafted by none other than Michael Chadwick, which some say, "Wow, Chad drafted." Yes, back in Madden 17, Chad showed up for Chad showed up for the offseason.
Chad drafted well.
Yeah, so Adonis Logan pops up. Chad ends up trading him, or he left, and Adonis Logan kind of bounced around and fell into the hands of Air V with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in Madden 17. And Air V hit the ground running, and Adonis Logan went nuts. Man, made two Pro Bowls with Air V. And then the season 8 offensive player of the year and best halfback, ended up running for almost 7,000 yards in 6 seasons and 78 total touchdowns. The guy was a beast, kind of your do-it-all, 5'10", 202 pounds. He was the 9th overall pick in his draft class. Boone, you were around. You were the only one in here other than me that was around for Adonis Logan. What could you say about a guy like Adonis Logan?
Get it together, Nick. It's okay. Adonis Logan was really like a really well-rounded back. One of those guys that like Brian would have loved to have had. He didn't have to have the blazing speed. He still ended up being fast by the end of his career, but he could pretty much do a little bit of everything. He'd catch out the backfield. He was quick. You couldn't really catch him. He had a little power to him as well. But, I mean, he was pretty much an all-around back, solid to be able to do whatever you need, 3-down back. Kind of what I wanted Bryson to be, kind of what Trotter kind of ended up being.
Yeah,
Carl Mills,
similar
those kind of guys are very similar to him, where he was able to kind of do a little bit of everything, be a really well-rounded back. And he brought the end of his career up to a really high point, and that's what really brought him to the Hall of Fame.
Yep, he had the most yards in a game for the longest time, I think, until Boone broke it against me with Todd Gurley. But it was 300 something yards a game with Air V, and the guy was just a beast. He is one of those guys that, yes, he's listed as an elusive back archetype, but he could easily be power back or receiving back. So Adonis Logan is a beast. And even though he's ranked 32. He might be able to go with that second running back of the 3 if you were kind of looking more his way rather than a Gerald Cool or someone like that. But let's go ahead and move on. So with that said, we're going to move right along to number 31, and it's going to be Long Duncan. Now we go from one of the coolest names to one of the worst names. So Long Duncan was drafted by JMO. Or not drafted by JMO. JMO took over the Miami Dolphins, and Long Duncan was there. He was part of the nasty safety duo that Miami Dolphins had with Long Duncan and Hayden Hicks. Duncan only played 4 seasons, but the dude ended up with 24 picks, 43 passes deflected, and he had 882 tackles, rookie of the year, and a 3-time Pro Bowler in his 4 years he played. Not bad for a 3rd-round draft pick. He really helped JMO kind of come in and kind of, announce himself to the league when he did join in. He was one of the few guys that joined mid-cycle and kind of made an impact. A lot of times when you take over a team, you struggle, you have those aches and pains, those early beat downs, but JMO came right in and picked up, the team and was ready to go. And Long Duncan was a big part of that. And that's what lands him in this Legends draft class. He is your do-it-all safety, packs a little bit of punches. You can see in his picture here, knocking out the Giants receiver. But don't get it twisted. He is just as good at coverage as he is at coming up and filling the holes in the run game. Boone, do you remember Long Duncan from back in Madden 18?
A little bit. Hayden hits a little more.
Known. Yeah.
But Long Duncan, I just remember the safeties. They were really hard to pass on. I think he had something like 5 or 6 picks a year on average in his 4 years, which is why he made it, because at that time you weren't having 6 picks unless you're Jack. Jack was the only person with a consistent 6-pick person.
Yeah.
This guy came in. He kind of was able to let Hayden Hicks kind of roam the field a little more, and definitely added some strength to that back of the secondary.
Some people.
I do actually remember Long Duncan. I played in the AFC East. I was the Patriots that year for like 8 to 10 games. And I mean, 2 of my games were against JMO, and I remember those safeties. He had 2 great safeties, but Long Duncan was the veteran. He had a younger guy that he had kind of groomed, or somebody, I think it was a younger guy, but I know he had 2 great safeties, and Long Duncan definitely was the one that you'll remember because he did have some hit to him, but he was a really great zone safety. I mean, a guy that'll just kind of cover 50% of the field. He covers the middle third. Nah, he's covering that middle 50%. It's like having a deep blue zone that he would cover back there.
And that's something a lot of people might say is only 4 seasons played. Well, back in Madden 17, Madden 18.
Yeah, that's the majority of the cycle.
Yes, that's,
75% of a cycle.
6, yeah. That nowadays only 4 seasons in is like, oh, the guy played, but barely played any of it. So, but that was big back then. So, let's go ahead and keep moving here as we get to some of these guys that some guys might remember a little bit more. But we're moving on to Boone's middle linebacker, actually drafted in Madden 18, Barry Roper from Syracuse. Boone, do you want to go ahead and jump right into Barry Roper here?
So Barry Roper, and you brought it up to me in the pre-show.
Yep.
I was not there for that draft, and the computer picked him up, and I was pretty pissed off. But I wanted him to be good because I wasn't going to go linebacker at all. But he ended up being a beast. Like he could just do everything. He wasn't like the hardest hitter. He didn't have a whole bunch of interceptions, but he did everything. He came up in the top of the league a couple times in tackles. He just made a lot of plays for me and saved a lot of first downs. He was just your all-around good middle linebacker.
Drafted the 42nd pick in the draft. So second round, 10th pick in the second round, 360 tackles, 62 tackles for a loss, 22 picks, 41 passes deflected, the 9 forced fumbles. He was a gamer. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest, but he's 6'3", 250 pounds. He can cover a lot of the field, and he was a big part. Back in the day, Boone didn't play defense at all. Kind of similar to now-ish, but
still doesn't.
But Barry Roper
was a top 5 pass defense right now.
Run commit gate.
Barry Roper is one of the few guys in this Madden 18 cycle that was a star on that Texans defense.
Only.
He's got A- hit power.
Dude, he does. Yes.
Can we comment on that crispy helmet, dude? Like, the helmet is nasty. It looks like he's got like a red halo over his head. I love those helmets. Those are pretty dirty.
He was anointed.
Yeah, he was a beast though. He came in and he made his Pro Bowl. I think he made 1 Pro Bowl, but 5 seasons in, 41 pay. He was a stud for that Houston Texans defense. But we'll get moving on because we don't want to make the show last too long. We will move on to arguably the most dominant running back in XCFL history, Gerald Cool. Gerald Cool was drafted by Coach Yost back in Madden 17. And the guy came in and was an absolute stud. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots before he was traded to my 49ers actually back then. And 5'10", 220 pounds. The dude packs a punch. 6 seasons, ran for 6,000 yards, caught 83 passes, and scored 85 total touchdowns in 88 games played. So this guy's almost averaging a touchdown a game. He was the 30th pick in his draft class and was a monster. Like I said, 2 Super Bowls, and the guy was productive. He played 6 seasons. He was one of the first draft classes in that cycle. You can see he's a power back, but his speed is a nice one. So he's a mix of a power back, elusive back. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to make him when you draft him. But A trucking, A- stiff arm, A- back vision. Gerald Cool is a beast and is nothing to be messed with. Right there with Deion Gates. Arguably could be the best running back in XFL history. Matt and Jen.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What world was it that Nicholas Larson traded anything for a running back?
Well, I only did it because I got a stud receiver with him in the deal.
Oh, there it is.
and Cool just kind of came with it. So
that's funny.
He didn't get used very much once he came to my team because I still had my receivers, but he was part of the deal, and it was a really lopsided deal in my favor. That was before I was on staff, so I was pretty thrilled about it. But yeah, he's a beast. Like I said, one of the best running backs in XFL history. And, it's very rare that we see a guy who might not be that 93, 94, 95 speed be as productive as he was. And, like I said, almost 1,000 yards every season. But a lot of that came in his first 4 or 5 seasons where he was putting up, 1,300 yards. And then with me in the last couple seasons, he didn't really do much. So, but he's a monster. Like I said, 2 Super Bowls. Really, really talented running back that guys will be lucky to have on their team. Well, let's go ahead and move along here. Now we're getting to some of these guys that everyone will start to remember. This is RIP Coach Doss, Jalen Holmes, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. He was a blazer, man. Jalen Holmes is an absolute stud. He's a deep threat.
Doss didn't want him.
He didn't. He wanted a corner.
Yeah,
and he was and he got lucky and ends up with like a 97 speed wide receiver that everybody else wanted. I think it was one of the better draft classes we saw, to be honest.
No, that was the same draft class as Grizz got the man, the myth, the
Yeah,
corner.
Larry. No, he got Larry Capers, or he got Capers. He had to pick between Holmes and Capers, and he took
That's
Capers.
exactly what I was.
That's
So,
right.
and Capers had 92 speed.
Yeah, and Holmes
Jalen
came in with
Holmes
like 97.
Jalen Holmes is short
Well,
guy either. So
he's 6'1", 180 pounds. He was the 5th pick in his draft. Played 5 seasons, made the Pro Bowl 5 times, 2-time best wide receiver, offensive rookie of the year. 8,000 yards in 5 seasons and 76 total touchdowns. So 78 games.
Some stats up here, and I know he saw multiple game suspensions. He saw a few league suspensions just from the 30.
Dude,
this man was a suspension waiting to happen.
He was, but you know what? This guy, I remember playing. God, I hated playing DOS because every time you could guarantee you see the freaking I form double set to the left. Wheel every time. That's a wheel route to Holmes. Nothing you can do to stop it. Put your best corner on it. You just audible away from man and hope that the zone goes to get it. Like, it was brutal. I mean, that was his biggest thing. Like, before Brian made the wheel route like a cheesy mumbo jumbo here in the league, it was definitely DOS that made that quite a route.
And Holmes came around during the during that Madden 19 cycle where the speed threshold was down a little bit. So these fast receivers really did take the league by storm, especially because we got screwed in our draft classes early on with no fast corners. And then all of a sudden, with like 3 seasons ago, we started getting populated with a bunch of corners. But Holmes is a freak. And back in Madden 19, Doss was really successful. I think he went to 2 Super Bowls, lost them both. But Holmes was a big reason why, and like Boone said, he was right around that 32 percentage every single year. And I know
that doesn't include the games where he was getting abused. So
yeah, yep, he had some big games.
Played me twice a year too.
Yeah, using a lot of those crosser routes. But he was a beast, and he like we said, it was really cool to see Grizz trying to make his decision between those two, and he went with Capers, who everyone probably thought was a better move, more polished, and just the speed difference was so much more with Holmes than him, like 97 versus 92 or whatever.
Holmes was star, I think, and Holmes was superstar, and Capers was only star, so it was just added insult to injury that Holmes was even better dev too.
Oh, yeah. So we'll move along here from Jalen Holmes. We will go to a guy that Van is very familiar with. It was his middle linebacker. Well, you did not draft him, I believe. I believe Brent drafted him. Gordon Fedorowitz out of Penn State, linebacker U. I think Brent drafted him, and then Van took over a really nice Browns roster and continued to just have big-time success with this guy. I've always known him as linebacker with the crazy last name, and I can never spell it right, and I always have to look it up on his little plaque to see. But 5 seasons in, 2 Pro Bowls, 394 tackles, 50 passes deflected, 16 picks, 58 tackles for a loss. The guy was all over the field. VBD will tell you firsthand how much of a pain in the butt this dude was. Van, go ahead and break him down. You got the wrong pick up.
No, it's Quan Shade is next from Alabama.
Oh, we'll go Fedorowitz, then we'll go to Shade.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was the time of the super linebacker too.
Yep.
So I mean, he had 95 zone, but he only had 82 speed. It didn't matter because of the leaping in the zone. The guy was all over the place. So he hit you, he could cover. He wasn't the super fast, but with all his abilities, you didn't notice it. And I think he was drafted in the 2nd round.
Yeah, 6'4" too. He was a second-round pick. The 5th pick in the 2nd round.
So Brent had him built really nicely. Then when I took over, I just bumped up his zone like crazy, and he just.
It was a big. Are you still there, Van? Okay, yeah, you broke up for a second there. But yeah, A- hit power, B+ block shed, B+ pursuit. He's a field general archetype, but like Van said, very high zone coverage. Not the quickest, but 6'4" kind of makes up for that lack of speed with the length. So I think Fedorowitz he's ranked way down here at 26, but he is a freak in himself and a big time player in this league. So
it'd be nice to see if Byron took him.
If VBD ended up getting him and getting to use it, that would be very interesting. So let's go ahead and move on. We got another middle linebacker. Reed's go ahead and throw Shade back up there. So Quan Shade might have been one of the most highly touted prospect we've ever had in the XCFL. He was drafted 5th overall, and the only reason he slid to 5th was because the draft class was absolutely insane. He only played 4 years in the XFL, averaged almost 100 tackles a season, 31 passes deflected, 13.5 sacks, 56 tackles for loss, 2-time Pro Bowler. He is a missile. The speed, the hit power, A+ hit power, A- tackle, B+ pursuit. There is not many like Quan Shade, where our last season of Madden 19, I think Grizz put a insane 300-point bid on him, or whatever it was 250-point bid, and he was getting paid $25 million a season to finish that cycle. But an absolute freak at middle linebacker, 6'1", 240, so a little bit smaller, but he will be an interesting prospect once people see his combine, and I can promise you he will not be the 27th player drafted in the draft. That is for sure. Does anyone else remember Quan Shade? No.
I remember him. I remember him covering a lot of field. I remember him running down whoever the hell was running the ball for me. It's not like I ever ran it much, but he was just a pain in the ass because he was fast. It reminds you of something like what Jack would have on his team. Like a really fast linebacker.
He came out of the box 88 speed, 89 excel, and had that 95 hit power out of the box. Where Davey drafted him. Dave Leone drafted him
with the Jets,
and with the Jets, and used him for 2 seasons. And Dave had to step away, and we had another user come in that only lasted a couple years. But Shade was a monster, and the only reason he hit free agency was because we had a user change, and it just didn't work out where he didn't resign, and it was Grizz's pickup. So one of the more fun guys in this draft class, and like I said, he will not beat the 27th draft pick once people see his combine. So let's go and move on. We just hit one of Van's guys, we hit one of Boone's guys, now we have one of Regan's guys, and he might have one of the cooler pictures in this out of all the pictures we're going to have, but it's going to be the wide receiver out of Indiana State, Roland Mumfree. Mumfree was 6'6", 231 pounds. He was kind of the first of these big body freak Calvin Johnson-like receivers that we had in the Madden 18 cycle. Was drafted 3rd overall in his draft, made 4 Pro Bowls in 5 seasons, was a season 15 best wide receiver, 47 touchdowns, 6,000 yards in the 5 seasons. So he was always over that 1,000-yard mark. Riggs, you had him towards the end. You only joined towards the end of Madden 18, so I think you only played 15, 16 games with this guy. Go ahead and talk about Mumfree a little bit.
God, I loved this guy. He was it was my first almost rule break. I think I might have broken a rule, but trying to throw. I remember when I came into the league, I was like, how can I not throw to this guy 32%, bro? Like, this guy, he's like, every play he was open. He's big. He's tough. He went and got the ball. I mean, he just was the only, and even out of this wide receiver class, he's the only 6'6" player. So if you think height matters, if you like those towering receivers, Roland Mumfree's your guy. He won't be the most blazing fast, guaranteed, out of this entire wide receiver core. You'll see, I mean, there's obviously more athletic people out there, but this guy, he really was. He had the speed. I know back in Madden 18, his speed was around like 92, 91. But at the time, for a 6'6" player, and he's strong. I mean, he's just that physical threat. He's the only wide receiver with the physical archetype, and that really fits him.
Regan, how fast was it? I
was going to ask you.
He was about 92 speed and 90. I think it was like 90 acceleration. He was more speed than he was. He was kind of like a little bit over 90, but still above 90 for a 6'6" player is just insane.
So Van, let me ask you this. So Mumfree comes out with A catching traffic, A- release, A- catching. His route running is nice. Is it in this Madden? Are you leaning more speed, or do you think a guy like Mumfree could have success because his route running and stuff is higher?
That's a really good question. I was thinking that because we don't see the draft classes obviously have changed entirely.
Yep.
We don't see the same types of players, so now we do. I'm interested to see what a guy like Dixon Bishop or Todd can do. It's with like really big speed and really big height. Obviously, can't miss there. But I've seen everyone like kind of shy away from the taller, slower receivers, and you don't see them in the top stat line. So I'm going with a guy like Jalen Holmes at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting.
However, dude, look. Just one last thing about this picture. Great picture, Nick. I love this. Just take a look. Shaq Griffin is
Yeah.
he is that's mind blowing. He's actually 6 feet tall. That man looks like he is double Shaq's height, dude. Look at that.
Is that the one without the hand?
No, this is this is the corner. This is like the really good corner that's getting mossed right now. Like that is crazy.
I was gonna say it would have taken away from the picture if it's one-handed out there.
Yeah,
that is not one-handed guy out there. The one-handed legend.
All right, let's go ahead.
You know, he could be good, but with my experience with Jalen Boone dropping stuff, I'm good on the big guys. You know, if you're not fast, I don't care anymore.
You got to have I think you have to have enough speed where you can get some separation, but route running definitely, going up against these at this point in the cycle where we have a lot of high man coverage, high zone coverage corners, the route running
doesn't matter.
It does big time.
I will admit the height really matters, especially against user defenders. User defenders, typically the animations they get is going to keep them on their feet when they go for the swat. So if you have that height and just toss it up to him against a user defender and hit Y and hope for the best, the worst case is it's going to be an incompletion. It really is it's a good thing to have. Coming from a guy that only has 5'9" receivers, I have 5'9", 5'9", and 5'8". Like, trust me, if I had a little bit of height, I'd be thrilled.
So Regan's going to draft him.
Wait a minute, who are your receivers?
Hollywood,
Baby Hollywood, and Little Italy.
Baby Hollywood.
Nah, Baby Hollywood.
We don't get nicknames if we don't know their names off of the nickname.
Regan doesn't tweet enough to market his players. That's the problem.
I actually have a half-written. Not gonna lie, I have a half-written article that I've been working on slowly in my breaks at work. So eventually, one day, maybe in like Madden 22, I'll release it.
We appreciate articles, but Rob has stepped the game up. We need videos now. Yep. We need videos and tweets. Leave the articles and stuff. That's cool.
All right.
We want videos.
All right,
and
tweets.
Let me go get my two friends that look like Hollywood and Baby Hollywood. I'll do that for
Van,
sure.
What's up, man?
I was thinking before we move on, I think it'd be nice to figure out who was the tallest wide receiver with the most this cycle. And I think it's J-Mo's guy at 6'5".
Yeah, Cam Baldwin. Right? Cam Baldwin for sure has had the most success.
6'5".
Chris Tatum for the Browns and Panthers is also pretty good.
No. Baldwin has double the amount of touchdowns Tatum has. It's not even close. Yeah,
it's not like before where there was a bunch of fast guys.
Baldwin's not fast, though. That's the only problem. With a lot of the fast guys you see in this draft class, you're going to get a little bit of speed along with it, north of 90 speed. So we'll see. But let's move on because we're only at 24 here. And this will be the first of a good – Coach Guac is 100% right. I need a mute button. But I think I have it with Discord, actually. But we got to get this moving because we want to talk about the top guys more than these guys. But so we go 24, Mike Bly. This is the first of a Jack defensive back. 6'3", 203 pounds. He was the 10th pick in the draft class. He was probably not supposed to be taken in the 10th, but no one else picked him. And Jack took some guy that was projected in the second round that was tall, and he turned into a monster. 3-time Pro Bowler, season 22, best defensive back, 500 tackles, 92 passes deflected. And he ended up bringing in 43 interceptions this cycle. It was the one player he took early on that was kind of he was been there the entire time. He was there all eight seasons, and he was the solid point in Jack's secondary for a long time, especially once he paired him with those nasty corners we'll talk about later. You guys were all here for Bly and Jack's secondary, but I mean he's right on par with what Jack does every cycle, tall and fast. So who wants to go about it?
No, carry on. There's a better safety that was in that draft class. Just carry on. Next player, please.
I mean, look, there's not much we can say about Jack's team. I mean, everything's been said. You watch them year in, year out. They're all fast, tall as hell, and can stop you. Like, it's annoying. But he just, he got Sean Taylor's number. What else do you expect?
That's what I was really surprised as a Redskin fan to let someone take Sean Taylor's number. I get it could be. Yeah, it could. That's what I'm gonna say. It could be an honor thing.
Yeah, but, that was kind of part of it. I will admit, I do know his starting stats out of the gate last cycle because I kind of paid attention because I had Pinnell, but clearly the better safety. But
you had who?
Oh, okay.
Who?
All right. So Bly started with like 88 speed. He was actually that was really what floored me about Jack taking him because I had always heard that like Jack loves fast tall and fast.
I'm gonna stop you right now. I'm gonna stop you right now because you're 100% wrong. Because I signed on the game the other day and looked, and all the smack he talked about him was 100% wrong.
Bro, at the end of the cycle, he had like 90 or something. But like when he was drafted, he had 80.
Or
88.
He's asking your wrongness,
dude. He is an absolute freak, and I let you talk me to make you Pinnell way better, not way better, but higher ranked than him. Bly got serious disrespect from you, and he was a stud. I just remember looking. I was looking at it. I was like, "Geez, this guy was a monster." Yes,
you hated Pinnell.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't ever badmouth my players.
Bly was an absolute monster. But we're gonna move on here because we're gonna say the same thing about every DB we see from Jack. Tall, fast, and good. So we'll move on to a guy I know very well. He played for my rival in the Madden cycle. It is Allen Agnew of the Chicago Bears. Tosh took over the Bears. Agnew was already on the team. He was the first player drafted by Fridge, who was our Bears owner at the start of the Madden 19 cycle. So Tosh didn't draft him, but Tosh definitely built the guy to who he was. He turned into a monster pass rusher towards the end. He kind of switched into that defensive end role, and he turned into a beast in 8 seasons, 120 sacks, 65 tackles for loss. He picked off 3 passes and forced 17 fumbles. He was a guy always in my backfield, sacking Starkey and making my life very difficult when I did try to go deep to Brooks or Rawls. So a guy like this, he's a speed rusher archetype he's an edge rusher, but he can do a lot more than that. He packs a solid balance between finesse moves and power moves. Only 6'2", 254. So if you do move to be DN, he's a little on the smaller side.
Yeah.
But you can just as easily drop him back in coverage and he'll play coverage linebacker for you. Definitely. So this is a guy who can do it all.
Dude.
And at 6'2".
I pounded. This was one of my players that I pounded on the table for with Nick, to kind of like to change and to really like make him a very well-rounded player. I was a closet fan of Agnew. Sitting in the AFC, I was a 3-4 guy last cycle, and the 4-3 was clearly better, but I still ran the 3-4. And so I envied guys that could do it all at the outside linebacker position, and Agnew was one of the only guys in the league that had good zone, good run stopping, and good pass rusher moves. He's like the perfect 3-4 outside linebacker. He did actually move to defensive end at the end of his career when Tosh kind of switched over to the 4-3, but Agnew, beast, man. If you are a 3-4 lover, he's your man.
Yeah, he made 4 Pro Bowls and was the season 23 Defensive Player of the Year, which I think that was the year Tosh might have won his first Super Bowl with the Bears, maybe a year before. It was right around there, but the guy put up stats to win Defensive Player of the Year in the XCFL means you had to have a large number of sacks because That's typically what happens. So, Boone, what's your go-to style of defense? Is it a 3-4 this cycle or is it a 4-3?
3-4, always
3-4.
3-4. Yeah, it's not like I play defense, but 3-4.
Van, what about
nickel?
You? Yeah, I'm running nickel a lot.
I don't know. I don't have any idea how to run it.
So you're 4-3.
All day long.
Yeah. Okay.
That was kind of the way your team was built, though. I think however you started the cycle is really how you stuck with,
that's
you know?
fair too.
You learned how to stop the run out of your formation, so you kind of just stuck with it.
This draft class is interesting because as we get to the next guy, we only have 1 true defensive end, and then we have 3 legit edge rushing outside linebackers that all played defensive end at a point in their career.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go ahead and move on to Sanchez Clark, who was drafted by Josh. He was part of that Atlanta Falcons squad for Josh, who he was kind of why Tack McKinley was setting all those records, getting all the awards and putting up those crazy sack numbers. Clark was on the other side, putting up 10 to 15 sacks a season, which is great, but not in the XCFL. It's very average. But then as soon as he traded Tack McKinley for Bryce Hepner, the quarterback, Sanchez Clark took over and just went nuts. He won. He was a 3-time Best Linebacker Award winner in the NFC. He made 4 Pro Bowls, and he was the season 22 Defensive Player of the Year. He had 118.5 sacks in 8 seasons, 100 tackles for a loss, and 19 forced fumbles. So his numbers were better than Agnew, but he was definitely that prime focus point. As soon as Tack was gone, he really took over and took the league by storm. B+ awareness, B+ hit power, B+ finesse moves. This is your finesse rusher. You're not going to get any bull rush moves out of him. He is your speed rusher on the outside, and I really think he probably goes higher than 22 in the draft too. Reeves, go ahead and break down Clark. Or Van, you go.
I like what Josh. I mean, like fact that he had a nice bounce between offense and defense. The guy could put points up on you, could stop you, and obviously sack the quarterback. He did a lot better with this roster, and this slam, but a lot better this roster than he did with the Jets. He drafted a way better with this team.
Well, there was a lot of jokes made about
he underperformed for sure with the Falcons roster, though. That's the only problem.
Well, the joke also was kind of that he was only good with Tack. That Tack McKinley was what propped him up. That he was never going to be anything Tack was, and he proved everybody wrong. I mean, he was just as good at user defensive end with Sanchez Clark and racked up almost as many sacks. He didn't have quite the speed and burst that Tack did. Like Tack, oh my God, he was a freak. But Sanchez Clark is about as close to Tack as the draft could put out at that time.
Alrighty, well, that's good. A good talk there. And these are Josh's favorite uniforms he always wore. That's why we threw the little throwbacks on them. But let's go ahead and move along here. So we just hit finesse rusher and Sanchez Clark. Now we're going to move to Adrian Torrance, who is your prototypical power rushing defensive end, the only defensive end in the class, and which is very odd because we are the XCFL and sacks are a huge thing. Brent drafted him in the second round, 54th pick. I know Boone and him had a lot of trade talks about these guys. But 5 seasons, 5 Pro Bowls, 4-time best defensive lineman in 5 seasons. He had 94 sacks in 5 seasons, 9 forced fumbles, and 7. Yeah, he, one of those guys that, a lot of these guys all played 7, 8 seasons, but he was a less seasoned guy and just put up huge numbers in that. And he played next to Kenny Clark because I traded Kenny Clark to him. He had a really nice defensive line and was a big part of the really nice cycle that the Saints put together in Madden 19.
Nick, do you want to hear a funny story about Torrance?
Yeah, go ahead, as long as you keep it short.
Yeah, I will. I was an ass hair away from trading Lamar Jackson for Adrian Torrance. I don't user. I really am not a user D-line type of guy. And what attracted me to Adrian Torrance was how good he was off user. So Brent would user his other defender, which I think was it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Marcus Davenport.
Bingo. Yep, Davenport. So he would user Davenport and then let Torrance go to town, and man, he did. So I was an ass hair away. Brent almost convinced me, but I was like, nah, I just can't give away my favorite player like that. So
he did end up trading Davenport to Boone.
He did eventually. That was a trade though. Didn't he get he got mad money trades? From that? No. Yeah, Brent got Brent wrecked him in that one.
Well, the thing is, it's crazy that we have one defensive end with what you just said, because I should user one and let the other go to town. I did that with Pino and Bosa.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? And so you'd think we would have more defensive ends doing
That's another guy. Pino is a guy who probably could have made this draft class, but only played, 2-3 seasons, but he put up stupid numbers. It was a guy that was ranked – he was supposed to be taking the top 10 and slid to 27, and Van snatched him up and turned him into a 99 in 2 seasons. And that's one of the more successful defensive ends we've seen in the league. But it is interesting. Lots of lots of edge rushing, outside linebackers.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, is they could play defensive end. It's not like we're going to sit here and say, no, you have to play them an outside linebacker if you run a 4-3. Yeah. No, dude, change it to the defensive end. He's an edge. That is the modern NFL.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move along here to one of the most talked about legends of all time in the XCFL. It is none other than Deion Gates. So he was drafted by Nick Z back in Madden 17. Only played 4 seasons, and it was cut short because he tore his ACL in his 4th season. So he only played 3 seasons, but he ran for 6,300 yards in 3 seasons, scored 87 touchdowns in 58 games played. So this guy, he is the single-handed reason we have the zigzag rule, the left sticking rule. And for the Madden 18 cycle, we actually put the rule you could not boost a player past 95 speed, 95 excel. That was the cap. You could only go 95, 95 because Gates was boosted all the way to 99 speed, 99 acceleration, 99 agility, and the dude was unstoppable. Nick Z would run stretches and tosses and everything outside, and Gates would make everyone look stupid. Like I said, you don't score 87 touchdowns in 58 games. And, it's 6 feet tall, 213 pounds. So he had all that speed and some size.
That was back in the day of the spin, too, the super spin.
What'd you say,
man? What was he out of the box, Nick? 95, you said? 94?
He was I think 97 speed, 95 excel, and that was back in the day where you could choose where you put your XP points. So Nick Z saved up all his XP points, popped them at speed and excel.
Yeah.
And we had 99, and he won every. The dude was a monster, 3-time Pro Bowler, season 9. God, that was so long ago. Season 9 MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and best running back. And I mean,
that's interesting to see where he goes.
Insane yards per carry, and he was one of the first guys outside of Jack's team that was wearing a single-digit number. As you can see, he wore number 7 with the dreads. He was a beast, man. Rob says in the chat, Gates is going to be on Rob's Black Squad.
Listen. If I have anything to say about this, Gates will be on my team. I watched Gates, and Gates was an absolute monster, bro. I've never seen someone dominate. He didn't just have 6,000 rushing yards. He had another 1,300 receiving yards. He almost totaled 8,000 yards in 3 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane.
This dude was a beast. And it wasn't like he couldn't catch. Why waste your time?
Yep.
You could get the ball to him out the backfield, and he's gone.
Absolute monster. So let's go ahead and move on.
And then he developed into a power back too.
Yeah, that was the silly. Yeah, that was the silly part.
Oh my God, he was such a freaking problem.
I mean, he's tall, 6 feet tall, 213. That's a pretty solid running back. But let's go ahead and move on, Reegs, to another stud. Is going to be Dixon Bishop, the wide receiver out of Clemson, 6'5", 225 pounds. Came out of the box with 93 speed, 92 excel. Only played 3 seasons, 48 games, but was a 3-time Pro Bowler, best wide receiver, and scored 52 touchdowns in those 48 games. So he had 4,500 receiving yards in 3 seasons. He played in my explosive Lions offense and was one of those twin towers. Boone, you actually tried to trade me before this draft and go up and get Dixon Bishop at the 3rd pick, but there was no chance I was passing up on him.
Right.
Yeah, there was no chance.
I know, it's fine. Dixon Bishop was really a problem, bro. He was big as hell. He would go catch anything, and like him and he had Overhauser with him, and I think the other guy on the other side was Gordon Todd.
Yeah, yep.
We're not there. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there. I got some stuff to say about that one. Let's keep this on track right now.
All right,
let's just talk about Bishop. Yeah.
Dixon Bishop flat out almost couldn't be checked on a weekly basis. It was really a matter of whether or not he was going to have 150 yards or 3 touchdowns or both.
Yeah.
It was just really how he was feeling when he woke up that morning.
Did Overhauser come his career?
What'd you say?
When did Overhauser commit?
Overhauser played all 3 seasons with him. I was able to, or maybe the last 2. But I had my calculator set up where Dixon Bishop and Gordon Todd both would be at 31.9% of the 32% rule, and then they wouldn't go over that. So they would get as much as they could get. And I had seasons where him and Gordon Todd both had 20-plus touchdowns each. But he was a beast. No, he was the first.
We're not talking about Gordon Todd yet.
He was the first one of the big receivers that actually had like above 93 speed. He was the fast. Fast big receiver.
Yeah, he had acceleration.
Yeah,
running.
Because Todd, we'll get to Gordon Todd, but A- spec catch, A- deep route, B+ short route. He's your do it all. Go up and get it. Throw it. He's similar to like a Randy Moss receiver. He's got the speed, the height. He's gonna make. He won't go 19. I can tell you that much.
So anybody in the chat that wasn't here for that cycle, this is your guy.
Yeah, he's a beast, man, and he'll be fun. Guy. It'll be fun to see how he translates into this Madden.
And then he walked in the league with the best quarterback in the league in Overhauser. So
I remember when I came to the league and I saw those 2 receivers and I thought, who is this guy? What is he? This is the community. Like, what is going on here?
So let's go ahead and move on to another wide receiver. We're going to go back to the Atlanta Falcons here, and it is going to be Jadarius Figures. So this was a guy on Josh's team who this was the first time in my Madden. Yeah, first time in my Madden career someone came out of the box of the draft with 99 overall at an attribute. The guy had 99 acceleration right out of the bat, right off the bat. And he went to the Pro Bowl every single season 6 times. He was a rookie of the year. He had 432 catches and 89 touchdowns in 96 games, almost 10,000 yards in 6 seasons. He was the 4th overall pick, and I had the 5th pick. I was really hoping he fell to me, and to pair him with Barry Brooks. And he ended up going to pick before me, which I was able to grab Medlin, the linebacker, which ended up working out. But Figures is a beast. He came out with 92 speed, but 99 excel. And it was the first time we've ever seen that. And he is a freak. A- catching traffic, B+ short route. He's the slot archetype, but don't get it twisted. The dude's a deep threat. He's a burner. And he really put up some big numbers for Josh, although he didn't win anything.
Casual dig.
Just edit that and move on.
Yeah, we'll move it on. But he was a beast. And shout out to Josh on vacation. Already got a guy suspended for Madden 21.
Very nice. Very nice.
What did JMO? JMO said Torrance is the only DE, which I think is hella impressive. I hate the word hella. If you say hella, I'm going to ignore your comment, JMO.
He's the only defensive end because the other ones were outside. A lot of people were outside linebackers that are just really impressive, but really play defensive end. So
yes. Let's move along here to one of the cooler names in the XCFL.
One of my favorite players of all time.
Tuatanga Hopkins was taken second. Okay, we'll go with that. Second pick in his draft. Played 5 seasons, 33 interceptions, 68 passes deflected. He was a tackling machine, almost 400 tackles in 5 seasons. He's got the A- hit power, B+ pursuit, B+ zone coverage. He is your do-it-all safety. Sean drafted him in what was a very deep draft class. There were 2 stud safeties, Tremonde Franklin and V-Hop, and V-Hop went second overall. Sean was actually mad because this player was taken. He wanted the linebacker Trenton Morgan that was taken first overall, but ended up settling for V-Hop at 2, and it turned out pretty good with a Hall of Fame career for him on the Indianapolis Colts. Boone, you said he's one of your favorite guys. Go ahead and talk about him a little bit.
Man, that dude, you gotta remember back then I was still the Texans, so I played him a lot. Me and Sean, that's where our rivalry started. This man was a beast, and he was such a problem because he was everywhere. He wasn't even really big. He reminded you a little bit of Bob Sanders. He could play the whole field, free safety or strong. He can make the tackle, but the thing about him was he would also make plays. He would stop you, and it wasn't necessarily the picks for the most part because he did get some picks, but he would make pass deflections. He was such a problem. V-Hop was an issue, and it was 24/7. Like I-Hop. There you go.
No. So he was, this was a Madden 18 guy, so a lot of guys weren't around for it. Van, you caught the end. You and Regan both caught the end. You guys both joined Madden 18. Regan the last season of it. Van, you were there for what, 3 of them? Maybe 4 of them?
Well, I'm telling you, this is my pick if he's there when I'm drafting.
Oh. It's just such a
this guy.
I
chased
cool
this guy
name,
around.
Man.
I loved him.
I chased this guy. Oh, he was just a beast.
Yeah, it's another guy that won't go 7. He's going to go higher, especially with a cool name.
He's really
seriously. I chased this guy around and offered the world for this guy every season.
His speed is not elite, but he has enough speed where he's not going to get he's not going to get beat
if
deep.
If you user him, you'll cover everything because they let you cover anything anyways.
Yep. He's a monster. J-Mo said in chat he could easily go top 5, which I would agree with because he's the do-it-all safety. Yeah, it'll be up there. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Josh Jones. Okay,
that's another note for the chat people who weren't here. There's another guy.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move up here. It's going to be another one of Jack's defensive backs. It is going to be Anthony Byrum. So he wore number 4. He is actually not inducted into the XCFL Hall of Fame. 2 of the other 2 of his 3 of his DBs are all inducted, but
could have been
Anthony. Yeah, he very well could.
On a technicality,
he was one of the guys that Jack drafted and developed and made it into an absolute monster. Had like 97 speed. You know how Jack does it with the get their man coverage all the way up to 99, and he was a problem. He was a guy who could run with Barry Brooks, run with Isaac Rawls, run with Jalen Holmes, all those fast receivers, and he brought Jack a Super Bowl. And it just that cornerback tandem. We'll talk about the other end later, and then you pair him with Mike Bly, the safety. This secondary and Anthony Byrum was an absolute monster. 5'10", 190, so he's a little on the shorter side, but for one of Jack's corners, but definitely not somebody you want to mess with. And that man coverage is nasty. Anybody, Reeks, you want to talk about Mr. Anthony Byrum?
Yeah, I beat him in the Super Bowl, so I guess I can talk about him. Not gonna say any. Just trying to be humble out here. Yeah, Byrum was the second best corner on his team Bottom
which
line.
is sad.
It is. I mean, he was
probably third best in the league.
He was the best for a while, but another guy came onto the team in a little bit later. You'll see, drafted by a different team, but in another blockbuster trade. But
the only reason I hate Ace to this day still.
that was the one thing that the one team that could stop Nick's receivers that cycle. It was like the one team that had the corners that could run, cover. I mean, it was the perfect. That
setup. Was I definitely got stopped. Like Tosh stopped me with game planning. He didn't have the players, but he stopped me with game planning. Jack could just throw the two guys on the receivers and it worked. He didn't really have to. It was just.
I remember
it was a
that.
fun matchup. It was a fun matchup
though. Like Byrum, that was another one of those similar to this cycle. Guys, stop giving Jack high picks. He gets good players. Yeah. And so this was another one of those players.
Tail into that.
Yeah, he's
terrible,
a beast.
Man.
Just dropping amen in the chat.
The fact that he is the 4th rated corner in this draft class tells you how good the top 3 of these corners are going to be. Because Byrum finished the 99 overall, man. He was a freak. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll move number 15. So this was another Indianapolis Colt, another one of Sean's guys. So this was V-Hop's teammate, one of the best linebackers to ever play in the XCFL, and it is Brandon Jimenez. Oh, he was a man 17. My fault. He was before V-Hop, but I forgot Sean was Colts back-to-back. He was the 4th overall pick taken in Madden 17, played 80 games, 5 seasons, had almost 500 tackles, 57 tackles for a loss, 11 picks, 74 passes deflected. The guy could do it all. He was a run-stopper archetype with 95 hit power out of the box when he was drafted. And, I mean, the guy doesn't miss a tackle. And then he turned him into a really nice zone coverage linebacker. But Jimenez was one of the best linebackers the XFL has ever seen. Doesn't have the speed that some of these guys you'll see, Quan Shade and some of the other guys have. But Jimenez was so productive, and he turned that Colts defense into something to be feared towards the end of that cycle. We know Sean struggled, but that Jimenez was one of a kind, an absolute monster. A+ hit power out of the box here, obviously. A- tackle, A- block shed. So yes, he's a run stopper archetype, but you get a lot more than just a run stopper when you draft a guy like Brandon Jimenez. And one of my favorite pictures we have here where he's sacking a Chargers quarterback.
He reminds me a lot of Navarro Bowman. You know how Bowman was a great elite linebacker when he played. He just wasn't the fastest. He was a great run stopper. He could cover. I remember when Nick was kind of building, this was one of the ones he said he pounded on the table. I remember, Nick, whenever we were building the class, you said this was one that you really wanted to
he
build
needed
nice.
To be good. Yeah. He made plays. He was all over the field, and that's rare. I mean, everybody looks for those fast linebackers with the crazy high zone coverage, and this was a guy who didn't have either of those and was dominant in the XCFL. So Sean actually drafted back-to-back years of stud linebackers with his Colts, so he's done really well building his defense.
Yeah,
he does.
No problem drafting. Yeah, no problem.
Well, that's it. When you draft in the top 5, I'm just kidding, Sean.
Well, what you have to remember is though he did start with the Colts. The Colts were always a really hard build out the box. They've always been because they're trash with bad contracts, and all you have is luck. And to Sean's credit, he always was in good spirit. He always played his games. He was a good team builder. It just takes a while for him to actually get competitive with the roster he had. Jimenez was a beast, though. Oh, my God. I wanted him so bad. I remember I wanted him so bad.
Isn't it crazy to think about that he was drafted 4 Maddens ago? That Madden 17, that's just insane.
What's crazy to think about is I've been here since Madden 16, which is wild.
I would like to see hit power come back too, because a 95 hit power nowadays is not a thing. We barely see 80 hit power. So
no, it's more important for them to have the big hitter trait. You could have 67 hit power and a big hitter trait, and you're forcing more fumbles. It's garbage.
Oh, I miss hit power.
All right, well, stop me if you've heard this before, but we're gonna move to another one of Jack's cornerbacks. This guy was another Madden 17 player.
The Rams, right?
Yeah, Ontarius Blanton, one of the first of his type, where he was 6'1", 205 pounds, drafted the 55th pick in the second round. Guy was a absolute stud, season 6 best defensive back, came up with only 22 picks, 71 passes deflected though, and 300 tackles. I played with the 49ers when Jack was the Rams. This was the first cycle I was there, and Jack was not the Redskins. But Blanton was just all over the field. It could stop anybody. The man coverage, obviously, 99 man coverage. and then he had the speed. And one of the cooler names. I love the name Ontarius Blanton, and that was like my first taste of the XCFL. And I was like, dude, this guy is a monster. And from that day forward, I was like, I need tall, fast defensive backs because that's obviously what works in this league.
Did you know that when we were built, again, another kind of fun story about building this class, Ontarius Blanton, no, dude, Nick said, I was like, who the hell is Ontarius Blanton? He said, the best corner that's ever played in the XCFL.
Ever played.
Like, dude, he still says this guy was the best to ever play in the XCFL.
Look, he's a monster.
Look, he was a monster, but I think more importantly than what he did on the field, this was that first player that like really announced that Jack is here in the XCFL. Because that was early on in his career, early on in yours. That was the first one that really was like, holy shit, he knows what the hell he's doing over there. That dude was a beast. He really
trips me out. It trips me out that he was a Ram. I mean, that just doesn't jack as the Rams. Like that just makes my brain hurt.
It was
first get in, you don't get to choose.
No, and Jack early on in Jack's career, he always had to leave during football season because he wasn't in the position he was now. He was the dude running around getting everybody coffee. That was Jack was much busier. Now he's got people working under him. So he's able to play during football season.
He got the desk with the name on the door.
There you go. But yeah, I mean the fact that we let this 6'1" speedster fall to 55th in the draft, we should all be. I mean, me, Sean, Boone, whoever's been there should be ashamed.
But you got to remember, at the time, we didn't think like that. You were just trying to take the best. He was the first one that really made it like, you just need the fastest guy, and he'll eventually be a beast.
And he did it very well.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our first quarterback that we talk about today, and it's another one of Jack's players. It is Blair Triplett. So Blair Triplett, he's not from Virginia Tech, but Regan just put him from Virginia Tech because it was Jack's guy.
Yes, sir.
But Triplett was drafted in the 6th round, 167th pick overall. He had high throw power and sucked across the board. He was not good at all. Jack did what he always does, where he takes that quarterback and starts him because he's 21 years old. Played 5 seasons, went to 4 Pro Bowls, season 11 Rookie of the Year, season 11 and 12 Best Quarterback. In his 5, he won a Super Bowl. Yes, in his 5 seasons, he threw 194 touchdowns and had a quarterback rating of 115.4. So just to say, back in the day, Madden 17, Madden 18. It was very rare to have the quarterbacks throwing 45 plus touchdowns. We only had a couple doing it. Nowadays, we have everybody throwing over 40 touchdowns. It's just how the game has changed. But back then, to throw 40 touchdowns consistently in a season was nuts. And Blair Triplett did it. Overhauser, those guys did it. But this is a guy, you're going to get that heavy throw power. We know how Jack loves to boost that medium accuracy because that's the only one he says matters. So with Triplett, you're going to get that medium accuracy guy. You're going to get the play action. He is not mobile, but 6'3", 230, and a strong arm quarterback. Dude's a beast. I'd like to see him get a shot. It'll be interesting because a lot of teams have their quarterback, but
a lot of teams don't. I thought they had him.
Yeah, maybe Van. I know you need a quarterback. You can go out and take Blair Triplett.
Well, you know who I'm looking at? It's this Bryce Starr.
Oh,
after right after several picked,
after all the glitz and the glam, you see Bryce down there.
I mean, I know Boone's probably going to take Starkley and Triplett.
Well, look, let me just tell you one thing. I'm going to pick very high, okay? I'm looking for someone to change my fortune, so who knows?
There you go. All right, so we're at number 12 here. Now it's starting to get really good. So this is a wide receiver legend, Jacoby Askew from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dave drafted him back in Madden 17. He is the original GOAT wide receiver. The dude set every record. In 48 games, caught 52 touchdowns, 481 catches for 8,000 yards. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was a season 8 and 9 best wide receiver. He took Dave and his 7 and 9 Jags to the Super Bowl. Yes, I said that. The Super Bowl at 7 and 9. And he was a huge reason why. He was a fifth overall pick, but 6'4", 233 pounds. Askew, I mean, when it's all said and done, he ranks right up there with the best of the best. The Brooks, the Todd, the Rawls, all of them.
I get to talk about it because none of you were here.
Yep.
So listen to me. This man, he's gonna be like, when you look back and you're like, oh, Terry Bradshaw and those guys, they were okay. They were good. Listen, he's that guy. His stats are not going to jump off the page.
Nope.
This guy went to the Super Bowl with a bum as a quarterback.
Yeah.
He had no team around him. You could not stop him. He got 1,000 yards every single season he was in the league. And very few receivers at the time could say that. Now we have a bunch of them. They come in the freaking dozens. But this guy was a fucking beast, and he wasn't even fast. He was like a 90 speed at best. But he was always open. He was catching everything. He was a fucking monster. I love him. He's the second best receiver to ever play in the XCFL.
I think if he would have come around later in the cycles, Madden 18, Madden 19, his stats would just be doubled or tripled. You know, like we said, there was no 32% rule at this time either. So he was the first guy to catch over 100 passes in a season for the XCFL.
And you knew he was
stats out of the box. Like, what was his speed out of the box?
Not 90.
He was he a top? He had to be a top receiver. Yeah,
he was taking fifth.
Like I said, he was like an 88 speed.
Yeah, nothing
he could
special.
Catch well, but the thing was, you walked into every game, and I think this is Dave. Was this Dave?
Yeah. Yep.
You walked into every game knowing he's going to throw to mostly him the
and
entire
you couldn't
game.
stop it. Yeah,
it didn't matter. It did not fucking matter. He was a beast.
It was one of those games where he'd complete 17 passes and 12 of them are to ask you, and you're just like, how you'd move guys over there, you'd cover, it just didn't work, and you didn't know why. You'd leave the game like, God, this dude just beat me with one player, and he did. And it's like Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, like a Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
beast,
that's exactly. Yep, exact comparison. 6'4", 233, A spec catch, A minus catching, none, and A minus short route. So with him, he's a physical archetype like Mumfree, but he's good in the slot. He can do it all. This is a guy you won't get the huge speed, but he won't drop a pass for you, and he's got the elite route running. So that is somebody to definitely keep your eye on. It'll be interesting.
Remember him as well.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where he gets drafted. Because his 40 time's not going to jump off the page at you, but everything else will. That's for sure. All right, Riggs, we're moving on to your
Thanks,
guy
Nick.
here.
I'll take it from here.
You second best free safety in the.
I'll take it from you. Oh yeah, whatever. All right, I'm muting. I'm just gonna mute you, Boone. I don't want to hear any of that blasphemy while my man is on the screen. So
I'm gonna just warn you. Do not take 5 minutes to do this.
I will not. Go ahead. Dude. All right. Bottom line, Pinnell. What can I say? The best part was I actually had him and his teammate, the Florida safeties. They both got drafted 1 year apart. I had both of them on my team. Thanks, Aries. Appreciate you, man. But the Perry Pinnell, dude, he was a hell of a safety. And he played corner and he played safety. Me and Nick have talked about it. He's actually the only safety in this draft that if you want to play him at corner, you can play him at corner because he played corner he was approved to play corner at the end of his career because he had no hit power. He really wasn't a hit power guy, but he could tackle. He had like 99 tackle by the end of his career. Partly I did it because I had a bunch of unused 99 overall chips. So I just kind of moved him to corner and hoped for the best. But he was great, played both positions really well. The one thing is
talk about his stats.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I want to talk about the stats.
I don't know about that. I just think it doesn't. I don't think it matters. You know, I think he hit 99 first. So no. Okay, real talk. The one thing about him was he did not pick as many passes as he should have. He was in perfect position every play, and he was the first. You know how there were first X Factors in Madden 19? He was the first dumb DB in Madden 19. I wanted to make his catching 0 so bad, but Nick's like, nah, dude, make it, because he had like 84 catching or some dumb shit and would drop every pass that was to him. He still had about the same amount of picks as I think exactly.
Bly.
Didn't he have exactly the same amount of picks as Bly? Yeah, him and Bly.
But he had 102 passes deflected though, which was one of the higher ones for Madden Gen players.
He always had so many
better hands on the snake. I got
Really good player, really fundamentally sound, 6 feet tall, 204, can do the man, can play zone. So that's somebody to look at. He's not going to jump off you athletically, but very fundamentally sound corner.
Yeah, easily the best man cover safety in this draft.
Yeah,
too. Definitely. Yep. If you love man coverage and you like your safeties to play man coverage, Perry Pinnell's your guy.
Yeah.
You mean the thing that's broken in this Madden?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on here to another edge rusher, outside linebacker from Notre Dame, Deshaun Watts. So I drafted
because
Watts
his name is not Deshaun Watson, and it pisses me off.
No, it's true, Deshaun Watts. Yeah, he was drafted 11th pick. Kind of fell to me. He came out with superstar dev. He was known for being in the infamous Isaac Rawls trade. That was who I sent to JMO for Isaac Rawls.
I was gonna talk about that.
Yep, and eight seasons, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time best linebacker, 178.5 sacks in 128 games, 119 tackles for a loss, 23 forced fumbles. He did work with JMO when he got to the Bills. I think the Bills led the league in sacks like 2 of the last 3 seasons, and Watts was a huge part of that. But that was Van, like you were saying though, that was one of the bigger blockbuster trades we've ever seen in the XCFL. A 99 for a 99.
Homie, this was the original.
Hold on. I said Van. Let Van talk.
Van. All right, Van. You better roast him for that. You better roast him for that.
Hey, I remember this. You didn't overpay for this guy. Let him fall to you. You have to develop for a receiver. I think that was a pretty good move. I remember when you drafted him out of the box, he was okay.
Yeah, had high.
He was all right. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, he wasn't like amazing. You developed this guy, and then you for a product.
Yeah, 99. Yeah, you got the 99 overall. We were able to move, but he's a finesse guy. He really high hit power, and then he's got a really nice acceleration behind him. So that's somebody who, if you're looking for your edge rusher, Watts gonna be your guy. 6'5", 253, so a little bit bigger for an outside linebacker. But he was definitely one of the more athletic monsters. And like I said,
while we're getting the next guy keyed up, I'm curious, who do you think, which trade caused more anger in the league? The Deshaun Watts for Isaac Rawls trade, or the Derwin James trade? I don't even know. Ooh. I feel like it was very like those two were like explosive when they got released.
When JMO and I were making the trade, I was like, dude, you want to just post it late at night when everyone's asleep so no one will start reacting? And we did, and then all of a sudden the morning came around, and everyone's commenting in chat at JMO, "Fuck you, JMO, you idiot!"
It was hilarious.
Because you didn't need Isaac Rawls. No, you did not need that.
99 speed, 99 acceleration. That was wild.
The league was mad
because you could make pass rushers so easy last cycle too. That was what was so tough. His receivers, those 99 speed receivers, were not easy to come by.
It was the second cycle in a row.
What'd you say?
It was the second cycle in a row you had done that.
Yeah, I had, yeah.
Right?
Yep. Able to have 2 stud receivers after Bishop and Todd went to Rawls and Brooks. So, but yeah, that I don't know. But I think the Derwin James trade is a little bit different, where people were kind of just like, bracket, seriously, bro, are you that dumb? Like,
where it was just garbage. Garbage for a good player. Yeah, so, no, that's true.
Offensive lineman. This one, we were both getting.
At least you got a 99. Yeah, that's true. It's sad that we've set the standard. Okay. Dude, we've set the standard so low for trades. Like, the trades of old that would wreck us, we were like, it's whatever. Like, that was better than what we have now.
We can thank Bracket for that one.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move on here to the
this one.
The last one of Jack's defensive backs. He was drafted by Spencer Fairley out of Florida State.
Oh boy.
6'1", 185 pounds. Fairley was a freak. He had like 97 speed out of the box, and Ace ended up using him for a couple seasons, and then freaking traded him for Darius Geis to Jack.
They got like 800 yards his first season.
Fairley who was on the trade block?
Yes,
every season.
He was on the trade block since Madden 02.
But Fairley was a 4-time Pro Bowler in his 5 seasons, 2-time best defensive back. He averaged about 10 picks a season, 9 picks a season, and then 80 passes deflected in his career. I mean, he's opposite of Anthony Byrum, and it just made for the nastiest. I logged on to Madden 19 the other day, and both Fairley and Byrum have 99 man, 99 zone, 99 press, and then they both are north of 97 speed, 97 excel, and I just started laughing. Like it just is absolutely nuts.
And we laugh at MUT.
Oh yeah, it just you pair him up with Jack's secondary, and it was Ace's first season in there, but to realize how valuable a 6'1", 97 speed cornerback is, just freaking nuts. But man, what a monster!
Oh,
and he was actually Jack's more favorite corner of the two, and that's what actually was his coach for this cycle. So
by far the better of the two.
Definitely. Now, if
more
you're speaking,
productive. But
now interesting carryout into this one. We got this a caveat to this one. A carryover is a who was the better of the two? As we're about to talk about our 8th best player in the draft.
you want to talk about who's better out of the two corners?
No, we're about to. Who's
Or
number 8?
this guy?
Oh,
Yeah.
number 7 and number 8.
Mr. Gordon Todd.
Who was better? Yeah, who Bishop or Todd?
Gordon-
That was the
He's
question.
the only one that you ever say Mister before.
Dude, Gordon Todd. He was because I will admit this, very humble. This is the worst mistake I ever made in my Madden career. I had Gordon Todd was taken with what pick was it? The 9th pick, I want to say, by Grizz. I had the 8th pick, so I was the pick ahead of him. And instead of taking Gordon Todd, I took a left tackle.
Oh, way to go, champ.
At number 8 overall,
Wow.
who was an absolute stud, a monster back when But Gordon, I was like, oh, this guy's 3-cone and his shuttle are really slow. He'll be decently fast but slow, whatever. Comes out with 91 speed, 93 excel, 6'5", 236 pounds. Did like 90 spectacular catch out of the box. From Northwestern State and transferred to Northwestern because Grizz is like, who the hell comes from Northwestern State? So he changed the college on him. But Grizz used him for 1.5 seasons, and he put up huge numbers. And then he traded him to me with it was a huge deal. I think I gave him 2 first-round picks, Kevin King, a bunch of stuff. And he took off. 4 seasons, 4 Pro Bowls, 2-time best wide receiver of the year. And then in 64 games, he had 64 touchdowns. So 6,500 yards in 4 seasons. Gordon Todd was an absolute freak and did whatever he wanted on the football field. It was pretty wild watching him play.
It was a sight to see.
It was one of I'd run that play action streaks and I would just tap B and he would and hit Y and he would take it.
But what
and
helped
it was
him
every
was
single time.
Freaking Dixon Bishop on the other side. Both
you
of them
couldn't,
6'5".
yeah, you couldn't double.
What the hell are you gonna do? The only person equipped for that shit was fucking Jack.
Yeah, but A spec catch, B plus deep route, B plus catch in traffic. You get a lot more than just a tall speedster with him than you get with Dixon Bishop. Todd, I'd say Todd over Bishop just because you throw it up and Todd was coming down with it no matter what, and it wasn't even close.
I don't think that's a fair question, though, right? Because I just think that I would go honestly Todd versus Rawls, who was better because both of them were secondary.
Yeah,
nobody's gonna say this, but guaranteed that Nick got so much heck for not winning a Super Bowl with this team. He was like the Josh with the Falcons. It was him with the Falcons.
So the season we ended up closing up shop, though, I was sitting there like 8-0, having my best season ever with this team, and then we ended up closing down, and they played a season. A couple of them did, and my CPU Lions won the Super Bowl with no user. So
that's hilarious.
The team was ready to go.
No,
but
we don't count that.
No, but JMO makes a really good point. In the trade for Rawls, Kevin King was also involved. So I traded Kevin King for Gordon Todd and Isaac Rawls in back-to-back cycles, basically. So Kevin King is the money piece. If you want to get a stud receiver, throw in Kevin King. Van, you have Kevin King next cycle, so you should come up with a stud receiver
that he'll probably waste. C95 speed Velveeta McKnight.
What'd you say, Van?
Trade Batsy in that deal for?
No, that was a separate deal, which we'll get to that guy too because he's way up there. Yeah, okay. That was a separate deal.
Sorry.
Me and Grizz had a couple really, really nice trades that cycle. But like we said, from Gordon Todd,
you're the only one with names up here.
Yeah,
players not up here.
from Gordon Todd, we go to another receiver, Isaac Rawls, out of Texas.
I still don't get how you pulled that off.
It was pretty fun. But Rawls.
That's how JMO got promoted to staff. What? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear anything.
Isaac Rawls was the first of his kind. Where when we started, he was the first draft class of that cycle, and when he pops up and he had that 4.31, 4.29 40-yard dash, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And the fact that he fell to number 6 was where I was just completely shocked. I was sitting there. This is where I took Watts at 11, and I was praying to God that he somehow fell to 11 so I could take him. But there was just no chance with that speed. And JMO took him, and he had he had Josh Allen. and it was just a match made in heaven. 5'10", 181, 98 speed or something out of the gate. But I mean, what? 8 seasons, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time best wide receiver, 507 catches, 13,000 yards, and 132 touchdowns in 121 games. This is the most polished burner, I guess you could say, outside of maybe one guy. Who we will name.
Did you use him as
No, I think a lot of guys covered Brooks more than they covered Rawls, just because they didn't want the flex picture getting taken on him. Where Rawls
It didn't matter.
Rawls was made a lot by. Well, first off, he was force fed by JMO because he was the only receiver he had. But then he really thrived because, I mean, Brooks, you had to double cover. So
he set the record for most yards in a game against Regan. Actually, he had like 330 receiving yards in a game or something against Regan. It was like a 50 double burger, passing attack, and JMO ended up.
Nick, I didn't hear who it was against. Can you tell me again?
Oh, that's right.
Regan.
It was the double burger. Regan? It was the the only game that we've ever had a double burger, and I scored 52, and JMO scored 50.
Yeah, you won.
That was wild.
Rawls put up nuts, and I think JMO got a little too confident in his user skills. He went to a Super Bowl, got absolutely demolished by Brent, and then I think he realized he said he could do it without a speed receiver, and I think after making that trade, he regretted it because then he was rolling out like Adam Thielen and some other guys as receivers, and it just was not working the same. But he got smacked by Brent in the Super Bowl after blocking a kick to beat Boone to go to the Super Bowl.
Listen, we're not going to talk about that nonsense.
JMO just taking bodies from our crew on our podcast right now.
Pew pew. We're not going to mention Cam Newton throwing over his shoulder, are we, Van?
Yeah.
Oh, you live in this, guys. To the newer guys, you're in this league long enough. You'll have so many memories.
Yeah.
Like you just got to say like one word. I could say Cam, and like all of a sudden he's like, "God, I fucking hate you, Regan." Like
So you guys will be on this podcast one day.
I know, right?
Let's go. Well, I think next time we do this will be a lot of fun because we're gonna have a lot of legends from this next class. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move
Carl
on.
Mills.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to another absolute stud cornerback, Akeem Spriggs, that Grizz ended up taking. He had an insane 40-yard dash. He goes number 2 overall. 6 seasons, 3-time Pro Bowler. He had 36 picks, 63 passes deflected. He blocked 10 field goals, which was
he not the best.
He came out 97 speed right out of the box, and that was towards the end of that cycle where we didn't have any fast corners. So when Spriggs comes out, everyone is just foaming at the mouth to draft this guy. 6'1".
The system, right? Like Spriggs just lined up and played.
Oh yeah,
this guy was everywhere.
He was.
He blocked, dude. Grizz, I can't even tell you how many. 10 field goal blocks in 3 seasons with this guy.
He's the closest thing to Dion that I think we've seen in the XCFL.
I've always said it would have been
the best player,
so cool. Yeah, dude, it would have been so cool to see him play on the offense side of the football. Because he's 6'1", 180.
Perry Pinnell actually did.
Yeah, I know.
He played in the Wildcat.
So did Josh Jones. But Spriggs, he comes out of the box with B man, B zone, B press, which is very balanced. He's a man-to-man corner, and he's going to give you that elite speed. I think.
Spriggs was 97 speed out of the draft.
Yeah, 97 speed with like 94, 93 XL. It was one of those. Grizz was really worried that he wasn't gonna hit, and it was gonna be some screwed up 40-yard dash scenario. But he was well worth it. So
dude, he was a god. He really was. He was one that, I mean, I cannot recall very many corners that I honestly thought locked down a complete half the field. This guy did. He jumped on everything. Yep. He was everywhere. He was psychic. He was, just the best. Because they were already good in Madden 19, those DBs, the psychic DBs. But Spriggs was next level.
Hey, Van.
This guy, I believe, is, yep.
Regan spoken like a man who doesn't play jack often.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't. Except I beat him in a Super Bowl, though. Boone, how'd that work for you when you played him in the playoffs?
Oh, guys,
I didn't have to play him. Someone took care of him.
Okay.
When I won my Super Bowl.
All right.
I think since I've been here, Spriggs might be the player I've seen pick as far as like performance in the field. I remember playing and you just couldn't pass on that side of the field at all.
No, and
you just couldn't. You couldn't.
Chris said in the chat he had elite catching too. He was nice, man. He was somebody who's gonna make you pay if you did throw to him. Wasn't gonna be a drop or a swat, but
whoever has the number one pick, listen up.
Yeah, Spriggs could very well go. I mean, he's going top 5 for sure. He could easily be the top player picked. Let's move along here to the next quarterback. So one of our 2 quarterbacks, we have Malcolm Starkey from LSU. This was the Green Bay Packers quarterback for me last cycle. He took over for Aaron Rodgers. I drafted him at the end of the 3. I think he played 3 seasons.
Yep. No,
and
4. I thought he had 4 seasons.
4. He got hurt his 4th one, so 3.5.
Right.
But he put up monster numbers, man, and he ended up. I mean, it's easy when you have Rawls and Brooks to throw to, but he
was the 3rd quarterback taken in that draft, was he not?
He was taken 22 overall, and turned out to just be an absolute beast. I benched Rodgers, who won 2 Super Bowls for me that cycle, and he ended up playing. He played 3 seasons, threw for 147 touchdowns, only 46 picks. 13,000 yards, 3 Pro Bowls, 3 times best quarterback, season 22 MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was a monster.
In my opinion, one of the biggest what-if cases in the XCFL history of what if he had started, if he had come out in the first draft, how because his stats were just otherworldly. He was good enough to be in the top 25 even as a 3-year player for the whole cycle, like three seasons out of 8 or 9.
Happened?
What'd you say, Abu?
What if COVID-18 happened?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
COVID-18.
He was fun to play with. He came out with really nice throw power, and then he's your guy. You're going to get deep accuracy. You're going to get play action. And he's a little more mobile than Triplett is. So if you like the little more mobile quarterback, Starkey's your guy. Never was able to win a Super Bowl.
But I mean, the transition from Rodgers.
It was tough. I kept saying,
and I remember Nick saying he missed.
I kept saying I was going to do a 2 quarterback system, and then I just said, "Screw it! I need to dev this guy." And as soon as Starkey got devved up, it was really awesome. But let's go move on.
That's why I DM'd you about my quarterback.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you have a similar situation with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's move up here to one of the most highly touted XCFL draft prospects of all time. This was Madden 18. It is the only defensive tackle in our draft class, and it is Kevin Bassey. I say Bassey. People say Bassey, whatever. This was the most fun offseason we ever had, where this was one of the most loaded draft classes ever. There were no trade rules. Like, you could trade, playoff teams could trade in the top 5. And it was him, Solomon Cohn, 2 stud quarterbacks in Navarre and Saleh. It was one of the craziest off seasons. Grizz traded up to 3, then Brent jumped him and traded to 2 because he wanted him. Then Grizz traded up to 1, then I somehow traded to 2, and Grizz ended up getting this guy, and he was a monster. He was the only defensive tackle, came out of the box with like 92 hit power. His power moves and his strength were off the charts. I think he had 90 plus at all those. But this is your power rusher. He's 6'4", 295. He can play D-end. I think he came out of D-end actually, but Grizz switched him to defensive tackle, and the rest was history. The dude put up huge numbers. He's actually not a Hall of Famer. Bummer. But it was what happened was not enough seasons in, but the impact, the potential is why he's up here at number 4. Grizz traded him to me again. I gave him 2 first-round picks, and he gave me Bassey because he was looking to rebuild, and he put up work. He did work. He's one of the best D tackles to ever do it. And when you draft a guy like him, you're getting some insane power, insane strength, and some insane hit power. So this is a guy, especially with defensive tackles mattering so much now. He will be like Van said, with Spriggs going 1. You could make a case for him to go number 1 in the draft. You guys weren't, or Boone, you were here for him. Again, Van was here for the end. But Van, I know you've always liked Bassey a lot.
Oh my Lord, yeah. I remember when all these trades were going down and I first joined, and I watched all these guys fly in front of my face. And I thought, oh, that guy. And this is a time where right now defensive tackles are the shit.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if anybody has their head screwed on straight, this is your guy.
Yeah, Grizz, it is Bassey. I call him Bassey. Grizz says Bassey. I think it's Bassey.
Grizz traded him, so he did whatever.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes with defensive tackles kind of climbing up the leaderboard in sacks as we see now with abilities off.
The pressure up the middle now is absolutely, and you look at this guy, and there's no other gems in that class.
No, Rob said it sounds like Ahmad Bates. Rob, he was out of the box. He was way better than Bates and young, 21. Bates came out at 23, 24.
Bates is 24.
Bates is a freak. Yeah, Bates is a freak, but the potential back when this Madden 18 was when we all had that spreadsheet to tell you who to draft where, and who had
it was
the best
too easy.
overall rating.
It was so easy.
And he had the highest rated grade on the spreadsheet in all of the classes we've ever had in that cycle, and that was just everyone's just like going nuts for him, and he was well worth it. So let's go ahead and move on here.
Don't worry, Rob's guy is coming up here.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
the top three. This is the top three right here.
We're gonna talk about 6'8", 266 pounds.
Let that sink in. 6'8",
6'8", 266.
The only tight end in the class.
Yes, Riley Leak from University of Oklahoma.
Oh, you said Riley Leak.
Yes, I mean, but that's you get a guy like Rob Gronkowski, 6'5".
Yeah, but
add 3 inches to that.
This and is then, LeBron James.
Another 20 pounds.
I hated this guy. I love Rob, but god dang it, I hated that guy.
Was our math correct on the percentage?
Yes, the issue was he was losing a lot, so he could throw more, and he had a lot of attempts, a lot of completions, and most of them were to Riley Leak. In 4 seasons, he caught 363 passes, 6,204 yards, and 64 touchdowns in 64 games. He was taken 12th overall, 4-time Pro Bowler, and was the season 24 most outstanding player and offensive player of the year.
Some would call it tanking, but Rob was leaking.
Yeah, he had 30 touchdowns in 1 season. You're going to get A- catching traffic, B catching, B spec catch. This is not your guy that's going to go deep. Rob used him a lot of short routes, ins, corner, nothing crazy downfield. He had decent speed at 83, I think it was. But with him,
it was 84. I think he had he had 84, but he had trucking. This guy, he was the kind of guy that you threw to an in route, a 10-yard in route. It wasn't a question. He was coming down with it, and he was going to make about 4 guys miss, basically by running right through them.
Very similar to Jacoby Askew, where you knew it was coming, but you just couldn't figure out the best way to stop it.
Rob has a Riley Leak jersey.
Yeah, he has a Riley Leak jersey. Riley Leak did interview.
Right.
Riley Leak
Leak is a legend.
Yeah, he
is.
A legend.
We're talking legends.
Darling. He ate it up. He was like Sammy Sosa.
We're talking legends.
Is Rob chiming in the chat here? A little bit of insider information.
Well, so this is my question then. If we don't know who has the first pick in the team draft, if it's Boone or Rob, but do we see Rob take Riley Leak with the first overall pick in his draft, or
he has to.
I don't know.
By all means.
Yeah, Boone's like, take the tight end, go for it.
Is it a snake draft? Is it wrapping around? So
you'll alternate back. Yeah, okay. 1, then 2, and 3. So
take Riley Leak first, please. I ask you, I beg you.
But Leak is it'll be interesting.
Boone's taking another quarterback.
Boone's going 2 receiver.
I know who the hell I'm going.
But with Leak, it'll be interesting to see where Leak goes, because we haven't seen a tight end go in the top 5, top 6. I don't think we have this cycle. And Leak could obviously be the guy that does. Someone that somebody just wants to use. Yeah, you have to watch him for a whole cycle, but I don't know if I've ever thrown to anyone 6'8".
I mean, my thing is, so look, when he came, right, every year we have that guy that's like, oh, well, he's fast as shit. That's like the one corner we're going to get that's going to be a 4.2 speed. This was the only time I've ever seen a 6'8" tight end. Let alone a 6'8" tight end be good and fast, be a top fucking pick and projected in the early first. He was once in 5 Maddens. I've never seen a player like this.
And Rob made the most of it, and he put up huge numbers.
He was nasty in the red zone. I mean, he
was the lone bright spot in that Cincinnati franchise.
Don't you dare disrespect his guard, bro.
That
offensive lineman.
Max Ecker.
The lineman.
Ecker was quarterback. Max Ecker was the quarterback, was a media superstar. but on the field he was very, very bad.
Debatable. He just needed a weapon. He needed Riley Leak. That's all that was.
Yeah.
And by that time, he'd already moved on, I think. So
yeah, but
Ecker never got to see the glory that was Riley Leak.
Riley Leak.
I got a game in 12 minutes.
Okay, well, we got two people left here, so let's move on. We got Ja'Cory Medlin, middle linebacker, Green Bay Packers. He was my guy taken at number 5. He is a stud, 88 speed, 89 excel. He ended up finishing at like 89 speed, 93, 94 excel. Zone coverage got up to 99. If you want a middle linebacker that's going to be the best player on your defense right out the gate, it's probably going to be Medlin from University of Pittsburgh. Go ahead and say your little piece here about Medlin.
Medlin, man. He was a safety playing linebacker. This
6'2",
you're going to see a lot of the legends were great players in a Madden that loved their style of play. This is one of those guys. In the generation of Madden 19 super linebackers, he was the superest of linebackers. I mean, he was just, you couldn't throw over him, you couldn't throw under him, you couldn't throw beside him. He was a SWAT king, he was a pick king, he was fast enough to blitz. The nano blitzes were definitely a thing in Madden 19. IREC. But we saw all kinds of stuff, man, and he was a stat stuffer. I mean, this guy, if you want to talk stats, he stacks up per season, forced fumbles. I mean, he would strip, he would hit. He did everything. I mean, he's just a perfect player.
Better than Riley Leak out of the box.
He's the only one that could cover Riley Leak.
The only issue with Medlin is he was normal dev right out of the box, and then I happened to win the survivor pool and bumped him to star, and then he got to upgrade to or bumped him to the dev upgrade, bumped him to star. Then I was able to bump him to superstar, but he in 6 seasons had 590 tackles, which we don't see a lot of guys put up 100 tackles a season in XCFL style of gameplay, and Medlin was just all over the field.
Well, the biggest thing was his speed. You don't see. Have we ever seen a linebacker with almost 90 speed that was drafted, like a drafted player with 89 speed and 94 excel?
Quan Shade was up there.
But Shade was one that was developed. Like, he could up the speed, couldn't they?
No, Shade was the same. He was the same class. Or the same Madden.
The guy that Nick drafted this year with the...
Oh, Riley Kane was 88.
No, I'm talking Shade. No, Shade was Madden 18, wasn't he? Or 17.
But either way, he was out of the box, an 88 speed, 90 excel. He was the only other one we've seen like that, though.
Oh, gotcha.
But he didn't have the zone coverage. He was just a hit power missile. So,
okay.
Let's move on here to the number 1 player of the draft class. It is
undisputed. I hate that guy.
Barry Brooks.
I hate that guy.
Most people do. We won't spend too much time on it because most people are not fans.
Oh, no, we were fans, but like fans from a like... I wish that guy was mine. Like this, if you want to talk,
I'm excited to see who gets him because I want to see what happens. You know, he 8 seasons, 8 Pro Bowls, 5-time best wide receiver, 116 games, 188 total touchdowns. So that was returns, rushing, receiving. He was a 2nd round pick. He was the 6th pick in the 2nd round. Everyone let him slide. He ended up being 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, and he is a beast. And he put up huge numbers in that Packers offense, 2 Super Bowls. You get A spec catch, A- deep route, A- catching. He is your deep threat, but don't let the 6 feet tall fool you because he's going to go up and get it, and he is going to make big time plays for your offense. So, I mean, if he doesn't go number 1 overall, I mean, I think whoever's sitting number two is going to be really excited.
He's going to be fast. Trust me. I mean, he's going to be. I'm whatever he runs, you're gonna see it. I mean, he's gonna be just as because that is kind of the thing we decided because I was like with Barry Brooks. Nick made him what he was. Everyone admits that. Nick made him the good player that he was. He wasn't good. I mean, he was garbage out of the gate. I mean, he was just speed, and that's all he was.
He wasn't garbage.
I
remember Nick posting pictures of training camp with him taking the face off.
He was fat. He had the speed, but he was a 2nd round pick. He fell down there, and I remember Alpha Heel was here. We were I think we were doing the draft show, and I was like, "Well, what about this receiver?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's a receiver with 4.3 speed." And I was like, "I'll take him." And I clicked him, and all of a sudden he popped out. And I was like, "Holy shit, this guy's gonna be good!" And that was the start, and that was the
The
And that's
legend
just history,
began
if
there.
you will. Yeah.
The
And
flex
then
pick. If
the
you guys have
Barry
a
Brooks flex
question,
pick.
some guys probably don't know where that flex pick comes from. That like the random flex emoji we have. That is Barry Brooks, and he flexed on it even better. The story goes, wasn't that in was that a Super Bowl against? Yeah, that was your first Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Super Bowl against Brian, yeah.
And it was against Brian, and he flexed on him, and Brian like had nightmares of that picture. That picture was posted everywhere. It is just as iconic as Brian's neck brace picture.
Listen, Barry Brooks is the greatest Madden Gen player we've ever had, next to Deion Gates.
Yeah,
that's the only argument I can hear. And I mean, he was unstoppable. I flat out could. I remember going into a game distinctly, and I was calling him. I was like, "This Barry Brooks dude is trash. We're gonna fucking lock him up." I was talking shit on Twitter, and I went in the game. I manned him up, and I played deep zone on him. At first play, the motherfucker goes 60 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, he
had 100 plus and 2 touchdowns by half.
Yep,
I let him.
That was exactly right.
Know, and he was a kick returner for me. He ran back 15, 16 kicks in his career.
He was a running
which
back.
Was risky.
He was a running back. By the end of his career, because he had so many freaking chips, he was getting trucking, he was getting juking, he was getting spins. This guy he was the perfect player by the end of his career. 6 feet tall, could basically run like any other running back. He had the carrying, he had the trucking, all that stuff, dude. He was a freak. I mean, you could jet sweep, you could wildcat, everything. I mean, he could have played quarterback.
It was perfect storm. He went to Nick's offense. Nick's division wasn't great defensively. It just the perfect storm, and he just had all the opportunities in the world to just continue to be great and grow, and it was crazy. Like he was
his one kryptonite was Tosh, though. Tosh managed, and he will talk about this.
You can go look on Twitter. Brooks had many of big games against the Bears. We might have lost, but he had many of big games against the Bears. But real quick then, so we have the team draft for the game coming up, and then we have the real draft in the offseason, obviously. So I want both your predictions then. Boone, I know you're involved in the team draft.
I don't give a fuck. I'll tell you my number one prospect.
I was going to say, who is going 1 overall in the team draft, if it's Robert Boone, and who's going in the actual draft? Is it Brooks, or are we going to see maybe someone else?
Are you asking me who I'm taking, or are you asking me who I think Rob's going to take?
Who do you think Rob's going to take, and then who are you going to take?
I know Rob better take his tight end that he loves. Yeah. Okay. Which makes this guy number 2.
Yeah.
He doesn't fall past number 2. I promise you that much.
No. Because right now we have Coach Guac and the Raiders at 0-11 or 1-11 because he took a forced win, which is a horrible idea. And then we have the Falcons at 0-12. So we have those two guys fighting for the number 1 overall pick.
Because I would have been at 2 losses, 2 wins, and I could have had a chance to get this guy.
Rob said, "I know who Rob's taking" in the chat. So
that is good that Rob knows who Rob is taking.
Yeah, but so last thing before we log off here, with the Legends draft coming up, the real draft, do you think people are going to draft based on players they want to use? Like a similar draft where you're drafting for team need, best available. How are you guys personally going to go about this?
I think it will depend on the position the team is in and what the person thinks they're in. Because you would look on paper, I'm not poised to win anything. However, I believe my team is right there. I'm just fucking up. So we may go with the position we need to put us over the top. I don't know if it's a corner, a quarterback, or a receiver, but it's one of those 3. Someone who's, kind of having some fun with it. They're not really going to probably win a Super Bowl. They're going to pick the player that's, going to be fun. They're going to pick the tight end who's 6'8". Let's fuck it. Let's have some fun, So I think that's where it's going to go.
Wing says he's going best player available. Which
there's not even much available in the 20s.
I was going to say when your team is as good as he is and he's already set, I think he's going to be okay.
Honestly, I think the playoff teams win the most because either way, even if you're picking 32, at least you got a legend. You get one of the best players in the XCFL, and it's a great way to kind of make this draft be fun instead of sad.
Get that off the screen. Get that off the
screen. So real quick then, what if we get to 30, 31, 32, the picks in the draft where the 49ers will be sitting? No, we're not making the playoffs. But when we get to that point, do you think any legends will slip to the second round and someone will be able to grab grab two legends. You know, someone will be able to double up if someone sees a normal Madden Gen player they like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
you know, if there's a running back
the
in
top
there, you
5
don't want.
picks will have a good chance to get a second legend, because I think that towards the end of the draft, you know, some of the guys who are already here and experienced, a lot of the guys that may not want that position are really stacked.
Yeah.
They may say, "Fuck it, just get the best player there." Just trying to see like a speed
Or
receiver or something.
offensive
Because they're still
line.
going to be able to speed receivers.
Well, because some of the top tier offensive line could get picked. I mean, I'm not saying I'm picking an offensive lineman, but some guys value offensive linemen, and there's some decent offensive linemen in this class. I mean, it's not like it's not a high priority pick. And for me, I'd rather have a legend, even if they're at a position I don't necessarily need, like quarterback. I would still take one just for the kicks and giggles.
Yeah, but if you're looking at like a linebacker, you know, maybe one of the safeties, and they're good. Don't get me wrong, but if you see a 4-3 receiver in there, or a 4-3 corner, they're going. You know,
I'm wondering where I'm really wondering where the 2 quarterbacks end up, because those. I mean, a lot of we said a lot of people have their quarterback, but I'm excited to see where Starkey, Triplett end up.
I wonder where they could end up.
Boone's still looking for a quarterback after
they could slide. One. I really could see them sliding, because skill positions, they're just going to be too much fun. I mean, I'm not passing. If I'm sitting at number 5, Starkey's projected number 5. If I'm sitting at number 5, dude, Rawls, Spriggs, I mean, dude, so many guys underneath. Todd,
I think it's
Todd. I mean, like, oh, God, he's a legend.
You're gonna see. I think you will see the quarterbacks drop a little bit. At least one of them. I think one could go early on, and then the other. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm excited because I think.
Could we see Starkey go back to? Could we see Starkey go to San Francisco?
I will say Decker is in decline. He's declining. You know, he's at that 30. He's going to be 30, 34 next year, and he will drop below a 90 overall probably. So we might, if a quarterback is sitting there, we might see a little Malcolm Starkey to Taj Beverly, or something like that. Who knows? Who knows?
A little familiar scenario, huh?
But
first thing Starkey says is like, hold up, that's not Barry Brooks. I'm not throwing that guy. That's not Barry. That's not Barry.
He's pretty close. But
Wing says he has two first round picks. Oh, he has that. He traded with Higgy, so he has with the Broncos is going to be a bad one too. But he can use his trade bait to get up there.
25 and 29. I mean, like, cool.
Grizz says wide receivers are going first, which I think when you see the combines, the wide receivers will probably be the ones that jump off the screen.
Or the corners. But corners are also just as nasty.
Corners and even the middle linebackers with speed will Medlin, Quan Shade, those, and then like we talked about, Kevin Bassey, Spriggs for sure, like you said, but who knows? And Riley Leak. Don't count out Riley Leak, man. 6'8", 80-something speed. That's something to be reckoned with.
I think corners and receivers go first.
Yeah.
Followed by the linebackers, because you can never have enough decent corners. 24 or not. You can never have enough decent corners, and all those corners are amazing. Receivers, obviously, you can never have enough of those. But then after that, that's when you start to see people like, okay, well, this Bassey or Basie.
Yeah.
He's here. This Medlin, this is a good player. I could use one.
Tomato. Bassey, Basie.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch and see how it breaks down. And I think if we have success with this is something we can install every single cycle, and we'll have a new batch of legends to toss in. And if we get enough, maybe we can do two rounds. So it'll be something where, something we can build off of, I think. So it definitely makes the excitement of the last, because there's nothing worse than drafting
it's depressing.
A real Madden Gen stud that you only get to use for 1 year. So
yep.
Eagle is who? Grizzly?
What'd you say?
John Eagle is Grizzly, right?
Yeah, that's Grizzly, yep.
He says if this was season 1, corners for sure. Nah, because even look at my team, I don't have a third corner.
Yeah, yes.
And my top corner's aging. He's starting to get old now.
A lockdown third corner in the XCFL is huge because everybody's in 3 wide receiver sets except for Pride.
Well, we also got one of our favorite 2 wide receiver sets guys in here too. Van, you still awake over there? Or did you go to sleep?
No, Van messaged me. He had to go play the game.
There's a couple people in here who like to run these 2 tight end sets and these fucking eye forms and strong eyes all game long. That shit's sickening. Powerful.
Sickening. Or Das, who went like 4 wide receiver sets.
So many one receiver formations.
I would like a receiver to fall to me wherever I draft. That would be ideal.
No, I would like for you to not, because I'd like to make a run to Super Bowl at some point.
Preferably, if you guys wanted to let Barry Brooks drop to 17, 18, wherever I'm drafting.
Yeah, he won't make a pass for it, period.
Oh,
Whose pick do you have?
Or
do you have yours?
I have mine, but I'm probably gonna be on the outside looking in for the playoffs just based off. Yeah, because I still had to play freaking Wings and Kylo and Boone and Drew to finish my.
Oh, please, I'm trash. Stop it.
Oh, I know. I'll beat you.
I mean, I'm 6-6 right now, so I don't know. I might be lower than you.
I get to play Riot and Van. I can play a lot of people struggling and then Nick. So
yeah, you're tanking, so let me win that one.
I wasn't tanking, bro. I couldn't play.
If I don't beat Wings, I'm probably out of the playoffs here. But a lot of it'll come down to week 17 against Drew. Me and Drew will have a showdown. Probably for the last playoff spot. If he loses to Tosh and I lose to Kylo, I'm probably gonna lose to Wings. He plays Wings too. Who knows? It'll be fun. But let's go ahead and log this off. That was a long one, mostly because Regan took forever to get set up, so I apologize for that, everyone.
Let's put a limit on it so it's not 2 hours. How long is it? 2 hours.
Oh, boy. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. I appreciate it. And let's look forward to a fun offseason draft. And don't forget, 32% takes effect after next week's game. So good luck, everyone.
Also known as the Gordon Todd rule. Peace out, guys.
All right.